everybody, and happy 4th of July. I'm Gary Mack, and joining me is, as usual, Mr. Rich Baxter. Hello, Rich.
It's,
Happy 4th of July.
how you doing, Gary? Happy, right back to you. Nice 4th of July special show here. One of my favorite holidays, believe it or not.
Yeah, we're finally going to get to celebrate it after coming out of that pandemic last year. This year, I guess more people are going to be out and about and going to the ballparks, and it's usually coming up to the traditional halfway point, or it's really a milestone for Major League Baseball because a lot of the records that are kept, or teams that are in first place on July the 4th finish first or whatever, and they base a lot of stuff on that. So it's here. It's almost here.
Yes, indeed. A big milestone, as you said, and we're getting towards the hot stove time, where we're going to be talking about some trades, which teams will be in the hunt for new players to help them out on that. But one of the things I think about with July 4th are traditions with baseball. And what are your family traditions out there to our listeners? Do you have any? Does it circle around baseball at all during these holiday weekends, or does it sort of stay on in the background? I know I got the game on the radio right now, and we're taping the show, on Friday night, right? As the holiday weekend kicks off. But I'm wondering about our listeners out there and what kind of holiday traditions they might have when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, not went a couple of times to double headers. Used to be a double header, Rich. You remember those days on July the 4th. But mostly it's on in the background, and you're keeping one ear on the sound and run in for a big play or something. But yeah, not too much really, especially the last few years. As you get older, things get a little bit more quiet. People tend to move away. Not like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, everybody, the whole family lived within relatively close, and we'd go to my grandmother's house and my grandfather's house, and my cousins would be there and all of that. And then, of course, I had a cousin that was well, I won't say what he did for a living, but he was always the one to get the fireworks, so he would bring the fireworks, and the kids would have sparklers, and he'd be shooting off Roman candles and stuff. So it was traditional American 4th of July. I remember one year, and it's really funny how you remember it. I was just a kid, but I remember my cousin's wife. She made this cake, and I didn't know what how you made a cake, but it was the American flag on the top. And for the life of me, it amazed me. I never thought of red icing and white icing and blue icing,
Wow.
and I remember that cake to this day. So, but that's, the usual cookouts, family things. And as I say, it's been quiet the last few years with the pandemic and other things. And as you get older, you tend to be more quiet. We have a dog also, so at night the fireworks kind of gets him crazy. So we kind of button up the house and turn the TV up loud, so hopefully he won't hear the fireworks.
All right, yeah, that could be bad, as well as certain neighborhoods, depending on where you live. Sometimes when I hear some loud fireworks, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I hope that was a firework. But
yeah.
yeah, my local hometown team and probably my favorite team, the Phillies, of course, in Philadelphia, playing the San Diego Padres this weekend. So might be if I go to one game this year, it would probably either be against the Mets or the Padres. So um, I don't know. Maybe I'll get to my first game. 4th of July is on a Sunday this year, of course,
Yeah.
and that might be a great time to run up there. So I think I have one game in me this year for a baseball game.
Well, I don't know. The Mets are away, but they're home as they are playing the Yankees. So it's not. It's technically they're playing in the Bronx, so it's an away game. But they're going home every night, so I won't trek up to the Bronx to watch that game. But I don't know. I'm still a little bit leery with the whole COVID thing, and we'll see. But I'll be watching. Let's put it that way.
Very cool. And thank you for watching us on YouTube. You probably see my temporary background here. I had a little issue with my microphone, so I've been making do, so to speak. So hopefully you can hear me well on this podcast, but making the best of it. And still loving that intro music, Gary. It's a really nice job you did finding that.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We decided to change our intro music after we got a bad review or a thumbs down on it.
We got some positive reviews, I think, because
yeah.
I mean, we can only get better listening to our listeners, I think.
That's right.
And if they took the time to, give us suggestions, that's all the better in my eyes. But yeah, across the baseball world, there's great matchups. Let's go over a couple of them. Los Angeles Dodgers playing the Washington Nationals. Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, two gritty working man's towns, so to speak, going after one another. Tampa Bay and Toronto. So I guess Toronto's still down there in Florida playing, and they're very close to one another. So that's probably a nice series for them. Chicago Cubs and the Reds. So that's sort of a hometown rivalry type of situation. Houston and the Cleveland. Can we still call them the Indians?
I think officially they still are.
Yeah, I'm not going to get in trouble for saying Indian, I guess. But oh, God forbid,
oh, my goodness, Rich.
But yeah, a lot of great matchups. Chicago White Sox and the Tigers, St. Louis and Colorado. Of course, you mentioned the Mets taking on the Yankees, and Kansas City and Minnesota going at one another. And of course, tonight at 7:05, it'll be your hometown battle and, series subway sort of game. That'd probably be interesting to watch.
Well, we hope we have a game. They're currently in a rain delay, so we're waiting for that game to start. But we shall see. But yeah, it should be interesting, though. I have to tell you, I'm not a big fan of interleague, and frankly, I'm tired of the Mets Yankees series. I've gone to numerous of them in the past, and they just get tiresome after a while. And so I'm not. I'll be watching, of course, but I don't need to have it. I think baseball was better when we had separation in the leagues and we didn't play each other, because it meant a little bit more in a World Series then. It just, you got to see different players. Then the All-Star game, it meant a whole lot more because you never saw these players. And so I'm not, you only saw them at the All-Star game and such. And so I'm not a big fan of interleague play. But Rich, if I may, speaking about the All-Star game, going on, we talked about the uniforms last week's show, And social media was a buzz after that, with not because of us, but about the uniforms when MLB showed them, and the buzz was not good. Most people, I'd say 95% of the comments I read, thought that those were the ugliest uniforms ever created by mankind and Nike. So, so I guess we weren't too far off. It's good to know we still have some taste uh, in the matter, and people are really people are really up in arms, and they are going to wear those uniforms because Major League Baseball said for the first time ever they are going to wear the you know, uh, a special uniform for the All-Star game. And you know, I'm okay with that. I'm just, why did they have to make them so ugly? You know?
Yeah, we had thought about this. You know, a lot of people had thought about it before the season started, and the contract originally was supposed to be with Under Armour for the jerseys, and for some reason that fell apart, and Nike swept in there, and then people started thinking, you know, they were thinking as well with Under Armour, they might try to change drastically uniform styles and designs. So I can't understand how they've sold as many as they have on the MLB shop. But, you know, maybe people are picking up for nostalgic purposes. But yeah, I'm not a big fan myself.
Or maybe they just didn't make that many.
Yeah, that's quite possible. I would have
You
to
know,
think that, yeah.
to create a demand or something, they wouldn't have that many available, and then it makes them look like they're hot sellers when really, you know, they just sold out what they made, and they're not going to bother to remake more. But I don't know. People will buy stuff, and I'm sure I'm sure there are people out there that like it. But I have to tell you, what I saw on social media, nobody liked it. So
Right.
for what it's worth, we will have to. Well, if you intend to watch the game, I am going to try not to. To be honest, because I believe the game should have been played on. There you go. There's a Stars and Stripe hat like I'm wearing, or
Yes.
somewhat similar. Uh, I think the game should be played in Atlanta. That's where it was. It was ridiculous of baseball to take it out of there, and that's my opinion on that.
Yeah. Um, I feel the same way. You know, I like the hat, by the way. I like your design
Thank
and
you.
the new current design. So, you know, New Era did a wonderful job with the hats design, but yeah, we got to put the shirts in the can, so to speak. And it'll be interesting to read social media, you know, after the game. You know, not a lot of people get the news of the jerseys. Maybe they'll watch the game and say, "Oh, you know what is this?"
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
have to watch that.
A lot of people may not follow on online, and see that they released pictures of the jerseys and stuff, and then they'll wonder what the heck are these things when the game comes. That does happen. A lot of people like that. We just happen to be wackadoodles and follow that kind of stuff, and
Yep.
see it. But I like I said, they're pretty ugly, and I think it's pretty unanimous consensus that they are pretty bad.
Yes, indeed. So got a couple more weeks till that happens, but yeah, as you said, the season's progressing along nicely. Hopefully, your team is doing well. You guys out there that like all these different teams. And it always makes me wonder as well, what do people do if they're fans of like Arizona? Do they just totally disregard their team at some point in the season? Is there a time where you just say enough's enough? Um, Sometimes I get that way with the Phillies. They've been playing so terribly lately. I can't watch them. So, I mean, holiday weekends, you're home sometimes. You have the day off maybe, so you can make time for it. But day in, day out, I start to lose interest a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's common. I think you go through streaks. I'll go through a streak where I'll just say, you know what, I'm not watching tonight. If they've been playing awful and everything like that, I'm not gonna watch the game tonight. I'm gonna watch something else and enjoy it, my life, and sometimes that might stretch to 2 days, 3 days, and then I'll say, but I'll always check in to see the score. So,
Right.
I'm keeping one foot or one ear to the wall, if you will. But I do that. You have to. I think. I don't think um, you can watch every game at least. I think if you're younger, maybe you can, and maybe we're not as dedicated. I admit I'm not as dedicated as I used to be to it. I used to study the box scores and everything. You get older, you don't have time for that necessarily, and but it doesn't mean I don't follow it any I'll follow the stories the next day. I'll follow the game on the phone if I'm watching something else, and chances are I'm watching the game anyway. But I take breaks too from it. I think you have to sometimes, and I always used to. This is going to sound a little strange, but I used to take the attitude if they were having a bad season, they were out of it. You look for something, and I would say, well, you know what? Now's a good time to go to the game because people aren't going, so it's less crowded, so you can
Yeah.
get better tickets.
Yeah.
And if they're not drawing because they're struggling, they're gonna run, all kinds of things to get people there so you can get cheaper tickets. So you have to look at it that way and then look at it as, hey, I'm at the ballpark, I'm out. It's a lovely summer's evening. Or early fall if you go in September or something like that. And that's the way I used to look at it.
Yep, that's an optimistic way to look at it. Getting back to the deal, so to speak, with the lesser crowds. Well, we talked the last week about letting our listeners know some more of our stats from our listeners, and here I've got them queued up here for you on the YouTube version, right on the screen. But Apple Podcasts, 69% of listeners. Amazon Alexa, 5%. So I think that's crept up pretty good there for us. Google Podcasts at 3%, Overcast at 3%, and then there's a big 20% with other. So other locations that are listening to our show here, the Baseball Talk Radio Show. 86% from the U.S., and we're still holding a big presence, I think, compared to my Phillies Talk podcast, Gary. I don't know about your Mets, but 8%, that's huge.
In the UK. Yeah, that's great. Well, hello to all of our mates over in Great Britain.
Yes.
And it's wonderful that you're getting into this fantastic game, and we're glad that we can bring the news to you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for listening, everyone across the pond. And Other places as well, listening platforms. We have the iPhone, one of our biggest listening spots there, 61%. Android users, 8%. Smart speaker, where you can just say, play the Baseball Talk radio show podcast, and it'll queue up the latest edition right from your Alexa speaker or Google speaker or your Apple home speaker. Pretty cool. Done it myself a few times. Direct web listeners, 3%. Thank you for tuning in. And we have a big 22% other. I'm curious what that other is.
Yeah. Especially in this, because you got iPhone, you got to figure that the Android is the phone, and then you get the smart speaker and the web. What would the other be? Tablets, maybe?
Tablets, maybe PC, that sort of thing.
Yeah, interesting.
But, yeah, pretty cool how you can break down your stats and check them out. We have some Apple stats. I haven't gone through them yet, but maybe next week's show, after the holiday show here, we'll delve into them for you if you'd like to listen to those. So thanks everyone for listening though.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, and people don't I guess get how it works, and they think it's you just it happens by a miracle or something, but it takes some work, and
and some equipment
and some equipment, and yeah, it's but we enjoy it. I'm just looking at my stats, and I've got 40% other, so I don't know where the heck.
Yeah.
And I've got 1% in Japan. Thank you, Japan.
Okay, listening to Mets musings.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. France, 8%. Wow.
Wow, must be some expats over there.
I guess so. I don't know, Rich.
Baseball fans.
Yeah. And talking about Japan, Rich, Shohei Ohtani was named the American League Player of the Month, presented by Chevrolet. And Kyle Schwarber of the Washington Nationals was named the National League Player of the Month. Now, Ohtani, he's been on a hitting tear. He's leading the league, or tied for the league, American League, in home runs, and he's just been belting them out like crazy lately. So congratulations to him, and the same thing with Schwarber. He's been on a hot streak. He's been hitting leadoff and knocking home his out. I think he had something like 10 in 12 games or some crazy number like that. So they both were named the Players of the Month by Chevrolet. So congratulations to both of those players.
Yeah, absolutely. Ohtani's been healthy now for most of this season, thank goodness, and having a great year. You see him in the highlight reels, and it's great to see him do well after these injuries that he's had and come back, as well as Kyle Schwarber seemed to take on a new life now out of Chicago, playing with the Nationals. And well, the Nationals must be giddy because they have a guy like Kyle Schwarber. They're not paying him the Bryce Harper money, but he's delivering for them. So win-win for that team. I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for the Nationals. And believe it or not, the Phillies are beating the Padres right now, so I'm pretty happy at that.
And the Nationals are probably the hottest team in baseball right now, though, as you said earlier, they're playing the Dodgers. So hopefully the Dodgers will cool them down. I think the Dodgers beat them last night, and maybe the Dodgers can put a licking on them to help the Mets out a little bit there, because the Nationals are starting to breathe down our backs or breathe on our necks a little bit. And Our 4-game cushion is down to 2. So we'll see. The Mets, problem with the Mets is they don't hit. The offense is MIA, missing in action. Get the police, send out a search party for offense, because boy, they do not hit. And it's the trend in baseball. Everybody wants to hit a home run, and the strikeouts. Last weekend against the Phillies, they struck out. Aaron Nola struck out 10. I think it was Nola struck out 10 in a row.
Yeah.
10 in a row. You kid? Somebody couldn't hit like a 2-foot ground ball. Couldn't put a bunt down.
And
just to break it.
He tied the famous Tom Seaver with that record.
Yes, sir. And man, I got to tell you, I seen Pete Alonso swing at some pitches that were like, almost in the dugout, and he's swinging at them. And James McCann, the same thing. These pitches were 2 feet off the plate.
Yeah.
Outside, and these guys are swinging at him. And I'm like, what? And they're trying to pull him at the same time.
They saw that curveball just hanging up there, and I guess they wanted to try to take it out of the park or whatever. But yeah, a little harder to do than you may seem. But yeah, it was nice pitching there. And before I forget, Gary, one of our sister podcasts, so to speak, out of Japan, since you mentioned Japan, is on our baseballtalkradio.com site, which I invite all you guys to tune into. It's called Japan Baseball Weekly, and they do a great job day in, day out. They're actual real media there in Japan. John Gibson and Jim Allen. Had one of them on Phillies Talk before, and maybe they would make a nice guest for this show. We'll have to ring them up over there in Japan one day.
Yeah, I have to see. That would be an interesting show.
Yeah, those guys, they love their baseball over there in Japan. So like to tip a cap. They're United States. They're from the States. So say hello to them. And we'll have them on for you if you send us an email, like stay in touch with us, guys.
Yeah. And you can send that email to Gary at Baseball Talk Radio .com or Rich at BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Yes, indeed. We'll be glad to put your comments on the air. We used to hear from a few people, but maybe the pandemic's gotten people away from writing podcast hosts, because I haven't heard too much from my Phillies Talk people, and I used to hear a little bit from them. They used to subscribe to the show and sponsor the show. They don't do that anymore. So, I hope it returns to normal for us as well.
I hope so. I know a lot of guys have complained about audience dropping off and not hearing from listeners and stuff. And I think part of it partially is that the fact that people aren't going to work. So then that was a lot of people use that as their podcast listening time. And being that they're working at home, they're doing other things,
they're cooking and cleaning and having fun while we're on hold waiting for them. Please hold the line. Somebody will be with you in 30 minutes. Meanwhile, they're there making their mashed potatoes at home, and, cutting the roast while we're waiting on the phone for them.
There you go.
We know what's going on.
We know, we get it. Well, Rich, what do you think so far of these pitchers getting checked for the sticky substances?
I think they've really gone too far with it. They made the rule. Look for some evidence before you start checking these pitchers, I would have to say, look for some credible movement on a ball that doesn't look natural. Two things: it delays the game a little bit. It adds an embarrassment to a pitcher, sort of puts him in a bad light, I think. So I think they've gone all about that too wrong. It's sort of like Checkpoint Charlie almost. And, I kind of expect that from the MLB anymore. They're not the same organization that they used to be.
No, sadly, no, they're, I don't know how you would describe it. More authoritative?
Exactly. Authoritarian. Correct.
Yeah.
And monopolistic, if you want to go that far.
And monopolistic. They want to take over everything. And yeah, I don't know what the end game is, but they did catch somebody, or at least they think they caught somebody. Hector Santiago, Seattle Mariners pitcher, was ejected last Sunday after umpires checked his glove in the 5th inning and presumably found something that shouldn't have been there. But he claims he only used rosin on what was a humid day. Now, rosin can get sticky when you've got sweat and all kinds of stuff. It can get sticky. But they checked his glove. They felt all the way around the glove, and they felt something that felt sticky. And all the umpires checked it, and they were all in agreement. They actually bag it up, and they bring it to the And first off, they give it to the authenticator. The guy, everything is authenticated now at the ballpark. I mean, if a guy gets his first hit, they throw the ball in, it goes to the authenticator. He puts his stamp or his sticker on it, so it's authenticated. So now he wraps the glove, and then they send it to New York for further investigation. Now, I did not hear anything about the what happened, but they threw him out of the game. So what happens if they find out, oh yeah, it was rosin? What do they do then? The guy's out of the game. They threw him out. They can't go back and rectify it. I mean, it's kind of a silly thing. Then don't take take the glove, but don't have it checked. I mean, I know they want to find out what these guys are using, and it has affected some guys. They say so. I don't know.
Yeah,
we
that's
shall
true.
see.
Yeah, we've seen a lot more baseballs being thrown at players so far, in my opinion. Baseballs that have gone in different trajectories, not to the catcher where it was supposed to go. So, we might see a lot more of that because of this rule. I think a lot of these players knew that some guys were using this to control the ball better, and they seem to be okay with that because they don't want to be hit. So we'll have to see overall if that contributes to more batters being hit or things like that. So,
we'll start to see the batters requesting that they allow them to use the sticky stuff again. In that case, I mean, do you want to get up against a wild, somebody throwing 100 miles an hour and they're wild? I don't want to, it's like Kruk in the All-Star game there against Randy Johnson. He just, he didn't want anything to do with it.
Right. I don't blame him. That guy was all wiry and all legs and arms, and before you knew it,
he came at you from all different angles, right?
Yes, indeed. So minor league baseball is going to have some changes as far as the end of the season, you told me just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, when they did the big reorganizations, playoffs were not on the agenda, but since as the article says, they've been making things up as they go along. We're going to see playoffs now at the double A, the high A, and the low A level as the top two teams in each league will face off in a playoff like event, best of five, and that will begin on September 21st. Now, AAA, we're not going to see playoffs on the AAA level, but we will see a 2-week extension of the 2021 season to the AAA East. The first additional 5 games will begin on September 22nd, while the AAA West, the first additional 5-game series, will begin on September 23rd. Both leagues will see a series ending 5-game series begin September 29th to end on October 3rd, the same date the MLB season ends. So they're just going to extend AAA another uh, 2 weeks and have no playoffs, and the other thing's just going to be 2 best records. I you know I think the minor leagues are trying to sort themselves out now still with these changes in the levels, and I wish they get some better names though. I mean, we used to have some great names: the Pony League, the Sally League, the oh, I can't even think of some of them now. The New York Penn League. Now you
Yeah.
got High A, and then you got High A East, Northeast Division, or High A East, Southeast Division. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It is truly ridiculous and confusing to how they have it. Um, Double A is like the worst, and then they have Triple A East and Triple A West, and within that there's divisions. It's too confusing. But the bottom line is we're not going to see any playoffs in a Triple A. We're going to see 2 weeks additional. So
it
that's the
doesn't
best way I can explain it.
sort of doesn't make sense. Did you re-up for the MILB television package
I
this year?
Yes, I did. I do have the MILB package. In fact, the other night, I said I don't watch the game sometimes. I take a break. Well, the other night I had on the computer, I had the Mets game on, and then I had each one of their farm teams were on. So, needless to say, after a while, I confused myself. So,
If that's
but
the only thing that this congregation of new leagues and Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, only because if their broadcast got better. I remember a few years ago I signed up for MLB.TV and I couldn't watch some of those broadcasts. Some of them was a fixed camera that seemed like it was on a 25-foot high pole and it didn't move very much.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, that's kind of ridiculous. So to be
No,
professional.
they have they have made it better. Part of the deal with MLB is they had to, if they're going to broadcast. Now there are still some teams that don't broadcast, so I got it mainly to watch the Brooklyn Cyclones because I'm besides the Mets, the Cyclones are a favorite team, and they are a farm team of the Mets. But I can also check in on the other farm teams. But for instance, now St. Lucie does not, the low A Mets team does not broadcast for, I don't know why, but they do not. So I can't watch any of their games unless they play somebody in their league that does broadcast, which is rare. So and another example is the Cyclones. I missed the first week of their season because they played a team. They broadcasted home the Cyclones, but the team they were on the road and the team they were playing did not broadcast. But there's only a few teams in their division that does not broadcast. One, maybe two, that do not. So I get to see most of their games. But part of it was that they had to. Let me see if I remember this correctly. They had to at least go to HD quality, and they have to have a scoreboard on screen.
Yeah, and
So
that makes sense. That makes sense for a watch.
Makes a lot of sense.
A viewer. And if anything, doing that for the MILB, in addition to giving the players maybe a better salary, might have been a good idea. So we'll see how that shakes out. Still on the fence about how they just got rid of a lot of teams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I think, as we talked about a year ago, they wanted to improve the quality of the game. And sometimes you had to wonder about the quality when you saw some of those broadcasts.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And some of the broadcasts are, some of them are still working on it, but they're getting better. I did notice that some of the AAA are a little bit better than the AA. It's almost like the way the whole minor leagues are set up. The AAA, some of their broadcasts are better, and then of course the announcing is some of it's really good, but some of them pick up the mic like between innings when they do stuff on the field, and if you're not really watching, you don't know what the heck they're talking about, or the camera might have a still picture up there, or may have nothing. Some of them just have like a still picture up, more to come, it says, or commercial break, and then there's nothing on. So it is minor league ball, but to answer your original question, it really has improved quite a bit. You can see that even the ones that aren't quite there yet are trying. Sometimes the camera works a little slow, things like that. Like there'll be a fly ball to the outfield, and the guy will be throwing it in when they finally get the camera on the right field or something. But that's all experience and stuff. And these people aren't professional cameramen. A lot of them work for the team. They're interns or whatever. So but it is getting a lot. It's 100 times better than when I had it 2 years ago.
Yeah, you got to see the quality improvement there.
Yeah. It's
great.
So much better. And as you said, the scoreboard on there means a lot, because you can, like I said, I just had them all on different windows, and I would just go from window to the other, and I could just glance at the scoreboard and see if there was any change or anything, and
very cool.
Yeah. So it worked well that way, but that's my experience. So
that's great for the minor leaguers and the fans out there. It looks like the Phillies are holding the 3-0 lead going in an eighth, so they might take game one. They might take. Now, I did listen to the radio feed. The Padres broadcaster said they couldn't wait to get into the Phillies bullpen, which they are into already. So anything could happen.
Yeah, the Phillies bullpen is a little on the shaky side there. Yeah, yep. Rich, but let's hope they can hold on.
Yes,
now,
indeed.
I'm curious. I also have MLB TV, so I should be able to wire that game as well. I'm
Yeah.
still in a rain delay here. That game never got
Yeah.
started, the Mets. Let's see.
So we want to wish our listeners and watchers of the podcast here a very happy 4th. Be safe. Follow some protocols. I see some places still requiring masks. Gary and I are both vaccinated, thank goodness. So we're doing well, and we hope you are out there as well. And thanks again for listening to the show.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time on another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Have a great week, everybody.